Welcome to Beyond the Game More Stories, the podcast where we explore the lessons that sports teach us about life, leadership, adversity, and growth long after the final whistle blows. I'm your host, Dwayne Lightfoot Jr. On this show, we sit down with athletes, coaches, parents, and leaders and have real conversations about the moments that shape us, the challenges, the victories, big and small, the setbacks, and the experiences that stay with us long after the scoreboard goes dark. All right, let's get on to today's episode of Beyond the Game More Stories. Today's guest, she is one of the brightest basketball talents coming out of the city of Louisville. She is a standout guard at Sacred Heart Academy, where she helped that team continue to be one of the most dominant traditions in Kentucky girls basketball. During her career with the Valkyries, she played a key role and helped lead her team to the 2025 state championship, adding another title to one of the most successful programs. At 5'10", she has developed herself into a leader on the court, and she's become one of the top performers in Kentucky high school basketball, averaging over 16 points this season and 5 rebounds. Her performance is something that hasn't gone unnoticed. She's actually also recently was named a nominee to the McDonald's All-American Game, which is one of the most prestigious honors a high school basketball player in the country can have. Before she got to Sacred Heart, she made a name for herself, scoring nearly 2,000 points and having 500 rebounds, just showcasing how productive as she has been throughout her entire high school journey. She did finish her career with over 3,000 points, and just the success that she has experienced has actually helped open the door for her for what's next for her. She has actually committed and signed to attend Marshall University to play for the Thundering Herd women's basketball team. So beyond the stats and accolades, she has grown up around the game of basketball, and she's actually built a reputation for herself through hard work, and she just represents what the next generation of athletes coming out of Louisville is. So today we get a chance to go beyond the highlights and hear her story, the lessons that she's learned through this game, and kind of learn about what the future holds for her as she prepares for the next level. So please help me welcome Bri Wilkins. Hey, Bri, how are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me as well.
No, awesome. No, I appreciate you doing this. So, I know when I started this project, I did kind of mention to you that I was looking at doing this and that I wanted to talk with you. It's somebody I've known for a long time. I met you before you were even born. So I wanted to just kind of learn a little bit more about your journey because, for the last several years, I've been away from you. So I saw you when you were getting started into the game, and I knew that you had something special and that you were going to be able to do a lot of good stuff with this game back in your Kentucky Premier days. And we were watching you at Crosby, trying to get you into TMS and everything. So I'm just excited to see everything that you've done. And I appreciate you letting me come along for the ride with you and just watching everything. So but again, first off, I want to thank you for doing this. I really appreciate you making the time. I know you got school, so I'm not going to hold you for too long. But as we get into this, before we get into all the different accomplishments and the highlights and everything that people see on the outside surface from you, I like to start at the beginning point of this because this podcast is about the person, not necessarily the player, right? So we're going to dive into all the different things that have kind of helped build Bri to Bri. So my first question I ask you is if there's somebody who doesn't know you outside of the highlights, or they only know you from sitting in the stands, what's something that they don't know that has kind of helped you get to where you're at now?
I would just say like all the behind the scenes work, like everybody assumes it's always came easy. That's not the case. Switching from obviously like at a young age from like dominated at the YMCA to switching to real AAU basketball. I wasn't always the first look. I mean, I was definitely last on the bench at one point, and then going into middle school, having to play up on a high school team. You're not always looked to be the leader first. I mean, there's seniors, and then you're in 8th grade, so you just gotta work your way up. So I would say the hours that I put in, like after hours, like the times that I'm in the gym in the night by myself, is like what they wouldn't assume on the court, because they would assume that oh, I mean, she averages 20 or this and that. It hasn't always been that way. There's definitely been a lot put into all the all the accomplishments off the court.
So, but again, as we look at your career again, you had an amazing career. Scoring over 3,000 points is amazing. I remember we talked earlier in the season, and you were telling me you were trying to get there. So, glad to see that you got there. But after 6 years of varsity basketball, competing at the highest level in the state, like you said, you did it at a young age. So what did that experience teach you about the consistency throughout that time, the discipline that you had to have, and just the overall staying committed to the process, even though it may not be exactly what you want in that moment?
Very grateful that I even got the opportunity to play 6 years of varsity basketball. Some people are just lucky enough to make the team. So the fact that I could start in seventh grade, I'm just very grateful for that opportunity at Eastern. And then I would say the lessons learned. I mean, I've had many amazing people to look up to. Starting in eighth grade, I had five great seniors to look up to. And then when I got to Cal, I had three seniors to look up to. They led me through the way. Getting to Sacred Heart, I mean, Zakiah Johnson now plays at LSU. Like, just having role models like that to look up to, they taught me consistency through, like, just working in the gym. And then their leadership taught me a lot because I knew one day I would have, like, big shoes to fill. Obviously, me being one of the only two seniors on the team this year, I had to take a lot of lessons from them and then apply it to my team this year. So definitely like following ways that they did, but then also like implementing my own and trying to lead my team this year definitely taught me a lot.
Yeah, no, and I think that's part of it. You mentioned the people that you had to look up to and follow. I've always said to be a great leader, you got to be a great follower. And you've had some great people that have kind of showed you the road. And you mentioned Zakiah. He's probably the most successful high school basketball athlete in the state of Kentucky's history. So that is a very good role model to follow. So, just like as you think about it, you've had coaches throughout your career. I know several of the coaches you've had have had a lot of success. If you think about the coach that had the biggest impact on your career, what is one of the lessons that you carry with you from that coach every day that you step on the floor?
I would say that I have two. Obviously, starting with my dad. He taught me a lot of lessons just because of like how much time I would spend with him on and off the court. And then like he was obviously hardest on me, so I definitely learned a lot from him. He's just been a role model for me my whole life. And then my current coach, Donna Moyer at Sacred Heart, she's taught me a lot of lessons, especially this year. She made it very clear that she was going to be hardest on me than the rest of the team, and she would tell me all the time, like, your expectations are bigger than everybody else's. So that was definitely the biggest lesson I took away because it was like, I can't feel like I'm getting picked on, but instead, like, I know she wants me to be great and she's doing this for a reason. So, like, there's a different standard I'm going to be held to, and that was definitely a huge lesson I learned this year.
And I think your dad has a track record of making great basketball players because your dad was a key cog in helping me become the player that I was. So I see a lot of the things that, he helped me with when we were your age. Even though he was just a couple months older than me, I learned a lot from your dad. But one thing that kind of resonated with me in what you said was both your dad and your coach now were hard on you, right? So when you have that coach who has taught you so much and you look up to, sometimes that coach is going to challenge you, and sometimes that becomes pretty hard to deal with. So how do you take that feedback and then make it a positive, turn it into some kind of motivation instead of getting down on yourself because they're yelling at you? Because in this game of basketball, you played it long enough. We're never going to play perfect. So we're going to make mistakes. So that coach is going to get on us. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I would just have to constantly remind myself, like, I know it's like for the good of my game and they just want me to be a better person. At the end of the day, they're only doing it for good. I would just constantly remind myself they want me to win and they want the team to win. In order for the team to win, I have to be at my best. So I know that they were just pushing me. I didn't take it to heart. I mean, I would get in arguments with my coaches, but that's just a player-coach relationship that you have to go through. And at the end of the day, like, my coach was amazing this year. We're best friends, so that's just what I had to go through to get to be a better player.
Yeah, no, and I totally respect that. I think that is the role that a lot of people don't understand, being a star player and that relationship you have to have with your coach. You're able, in senses, sometimes you get away with stuff that other kids can't, right? and you learned that at a younger age that, hey, here I come. I'm a vocal leader. I'm a physical leader on this team. The coach respects my opinion. So if the coach is saying something that I feel like, I want to question or I want to ask about, you have the confidence to go do that. And sometimes it does lead to that back and forth where there is an argument. But as you said, in the end, you got two people who will ultimately get on the same page because you're working toward the same goal. Again, at such a young age, that you understand the fact that, and you can take the coaching. And that's one thing. When I started getting my kids into basketball, I was one of their first coaches. And I told them, hey, I'm going to be harder on you than anybody else, right? Just like your dad said. And my philosophy was, if you can play for me, you can play for any coach out there, because you understand the difference between dad and coach, and you understand the difference between me coaching at you and me yelling at you, right? So that's good that you have that at a young age, and that's something you're going to be able to carry on with you as you go to the next level. So like we said, we mentioned, you are a state champion. You are actually a two-time state champion. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But again, now you actually saw this at the highest level. Last season, as a junior, you came in with the pressures of trying to step into a new program and help a team win a fifth straight state championship, which is crazy. Like you said, sometimes people are just lucky to make the team, but to go 5 straight years winning a state championship, especially coming from somebody who's never made the state tournament, is a great accomplishment. So as you think about that, just the pressure that you all had to have last year of trying to keep that streak alive, and you're out here, you're playing in these huge arenas now that's going to become customary to you now. These are going to be the arenas you play in every game now. But just think about trying to keep that streak alive and all the pressure that you had. What did that teach you about handling pressure and staying composed in some of those big moments that you have?
I mean, transferring to Sacred Heart, I knew the big name that the school had, the pressure that it came with, and like obviously every game there was a target on our back. Every game that we played, we were somebody's Super Bowl, and they came in with as many fans, as much energy, like as much noise as they could make. So we just knew like we had to give it our all every single game, and there was never a game where we could take a break. So trying to get to Rupp Arena for the fifth time with this team, I mean, obviously a lot of pressure, but we just fought every game, and I would say it was the behind the scenes, the work that we put in on the court, on the track, at Milestone, which is a gym that we went to. I would say like once we got there, it was more like relaxed pressure because we knew that we had practiced this over and over and over again. It was kind of like we had already had the game in practice, so we knew like what was coming in the moment before the moment even happened.
And again, you were following those people who had been there. They understood the Sacred Heart way and everything, and they knew what the ultimate goal that you were trying to achieve. And in a situation like that, you have players that have to make sacrifices. You could have gone to a school where you could have averaged 30. But you chose to go out there and do that. Think about it. Like I said, you dealt with all that pressure last year to achieve that ultimate goal of getting that fifth state championship. You're coming off that high, and then again, like in sports, a new season comes. And everything that you did last season doesn't matter at all. You mentioned you're getting everybody's best shot. You are the hunted every game. So you go into this season trying to win a sixth state championship, but now your role has changed some, right? You said some of those seniors that you had last year are gone. They've moved on, and now that leadership role falls on you. That adds a new layer to what you got to deal with and you have to handle. So tell me kind of what life lessons did you take from being in that leadership role this season that you feel that experience from previous years helped you get through the different ways that you had to deal with that this year?
I would say last year I kind of had like more of a role play on my team. I would kind of played in the shadow a little bit. Definitely like had a main role, but like the game didn't depend on me. This year, like game winning shot, everybody's gonna look at me like Sacred Heart. It comes with a name behind it, so I would just say like I had to step up and be more of a leader, not just because I was a senior, but because we had a lot of younger kids who had never even experienced some of the things that like we were about to have to go through. Some of them have never been to a regional championship, a district champ. They've never even been on a varsity high school team. We had a lot of freshmen move up from like just the freshman team. So I knew like mentally I was gonna have to lead them, not as much physically, because like basketball at the end of the day it'll speak for itself, but mentally, I mean, it's nerve wracking. I know how it can feel because I was at that level at one point. So I just knew like I was gonna have to carry them with me through this journey, and I would just say like the levels changed. Like it was a lot more pressure, and I knew like every game I had to put on a serious face and like, just put on a role for them.
Yeah. What do you feel was the most important lesson that you learned from those seniors last year that had been to the mountaintop a couple times that you felt was important to teach these younger ones so that the Sacred Heart way can continue?
I would say keep going. They never gave up. State championship game last year, I think we were down 12 points with maybe 4 minutes left in the game, maybe 2 minutes left in the game. We went on a 12-0 run and ended up beating George Rogers Clark to win the game. And we had a game kind of like that this year against Assumption, our rivals. We were kind of like almost down 14 at one point, and we slowly kept creeping up the whole game. And then by the end of the game, I ended up making game-winning free throws, and it kind of like gave me a flashback from last year and how the seniors like led me through the moment. It's now it's like I got to lead my team, and it's like almost the same exact game. So I would just say keep going is a huge thing I learned from them because the game's never over until that buzzer goes off.
Yeah, and that's very true because the important thing, is Bri is going to go on. Like last year, the senior class left, but the Sacred Heart program is still there. Your coach is still there, and you want that program to continue to play for regional championships, play for state champions. So, that is an important role that as a leader that falls on your shoulders that I think you did a great job this year doing that. So now this is the part where I get to do a humble brag. All right. So you and I, again, I've known your dad since I was 9, right? So I've known you from the day he came home telling me that, that you were going to be born. But you and I, we share a few accomplishments. I don't know if you know this, right? We are both 7th Region Player of the Year. All right. We are both also in the 1,000 point club. Now, let me have it, okay? We know where you're at, but let me have it, okay?
Yeah.
We're both in the 1,000 point club, and then another honor that I know you're gonna get in a few weeks or a few months. You're gonna get that tryout for the Kentucky All-Star, and you're gonna be a part of that legacy and that history, and that is awesome in itself. So I said we share a lot in common. But one thing that we both share in common, like I said, you scored your 3,000, I scored, my 1,100. But we are both people who can put the ball in the basket. And one thing that I see as I work with kids down here now, a lot of young athletes today judge how good their game is that they played that day based on how many times the ball goes in the basket. As somebody who can score and is known for scoring, do you believe that mentality? Do you believe that how good you played in that game is dictated by how many points you had?
I would definitely disagree with that. At the end of the day, scoring does matter because that's how you win a basketball game, but all coaches know, all great players know that defense wins games, free throws win games. So like at the end of the day, you need stops. Everybody can't be a scorer on the team. You're gonna have a leading scorer, and then everybody else has to play into their role. I wasn't always a scorer. I did start as a defensive stopper. I would be put in the game, go get a stop. Like I was not always looked to pass the ball and go get a bucket. So I mean, I definitely know both sides, and defense matters a lot more. And then back to our state championship last year, we had Zakiah Johnson, who obviously scored the ball a ton, and then everybody else knew their role. We definitely had people go guard the ball out of bounds as hard as you can, and that's what won us the game. We had a 10-second count, and that defensive stop pretty much like sealed the game. So I would definitely say defensive people matter a lot, and it just depends what your role is on the team.
All right. So, and you kind of just touched on this with your defensive statement, but if you look at it and you say there's more to the game than just that, what are some ways in other games that you found a way to contribute to help your team win on nights where maybe the ball just wasn't going in the basket for you personally?
Yeah, so obviously every game this year was not my night. There was games where I just couldn't buy a bucket. And I would say like one thing that I could always bring was energy. We didn't have the loudest team this year, so I would say like I would always bring it to the huddle, clapping it up, hyping everybody up. So like the littlest things that you can do, just giving people high fives or hyping them up after their buckets, just had them scoring more. So if I'm not getting every point that we need that night, I'm gonna go hype up my teammates, and I know that they'll pick up the dead weight, and my energy will carry it on, and then it'll also hype them up to carry it on. It just brings a lot more energy to the gym, and it's a lot better atmosphere that way.
Yeah, and I think the word that I would use for what you just described is culture. You are building a culture. Some of the best teams that I've seen or that I've played on, they are those teams where guys 1 through 15 are just as excited when they score as when their teammates score. I'm fine if I get you the pass that gets you the shot, because again, we're working toward one goal, and I think kind of bringing that kind of energy and everything, it shows the overall level of just a mindset that you have of being, I always say that you can never be the best player on the team until you're a great teammate, right? And I think that's what that speaks to. So I'm glad to hear you say that. Again, and I know you're about to head into Marshall. You're starting over again. We talked about new season. What you did last year doesn't matter. And that's something that's going to help set you apart. You come in there with that kind of mentality and that kind of effort and energy, because no coach should ever have to teach effort and energy. Right? There's no drill we can do. I can teach you how to guard a down screen. I can teach you how to bump a cutter and not get face cut. But I shouldn't. There's no drill I can create that's going to help you, care about the people that you're playing with and to just bring energy. So, again, that's where I see that your mindset, is far beyond the age that you are. So now we'll get into a little bit of the sad thing, but it's something that every athlete's going to go through this, right? So last weekend, y'all had a tough game. Didn't go the way you wanted to, and you had your final high school basketball game. In that moment, you took that jersey off for the last time. And again, this is an experience that every athlete's going to have at some point in time, which regardless of what level they play at. What emotions did you feel in that moment, and what lessons from this chapter of your life do you feel will stay with you as you move to the next level?
I felt a lot of emotions like happiness, sadness. I was grateful for it all. I feel like when I was taking that jersey off for the last time, I just thought about the past 6 years from start to finish. I wasn't just thinking about that game. Like I just feel like every moment, every good, every bad moment just started to replay in my head over and over. So I mean, obviously it hurt to lose that game. We wanted to win state again. We gave it our all. The ball dropped how the ball dropped, but definitely a lot of emotions went through my head at that time. Then I would say the lesson that I learned from that was live with no regrets, and that's just for life. Obviously, like when everybody takes their jersey off for the last time, they're gonna regret something. I wish I went harder in this drill. I wish I got up one more time at 5 a.m. and worked out here. I wish I lifted a little bit heavier weight in this weightlifting, but yeah, I would say live with no regrets. I definitely have like a lot of regrets from my high school season, like just wishing I went harder in this, wishing I went harder in that. But then at the same time, I don't have regrets. I know I just said I live with a lot of regrets, but at the same time, because I did give 110% in that game, I know that I would go out and give my all every game. So I would just say that.
I think, it's not necessarily a regret. It's just you always, as a good and a great player, you're always going to wish you did more. The players that are not long for this game, they always feel like they gave everything they had. But with the way that your mind works, you're going to go back and dissect the game, and you're going to remember that one play where you were a split second behind. So it's more of just always wishing you could have done more. But again, the good thing about it, you have at least another 4 years of playing. So you have the opportunity to go in there and do it all over again. So that's really good. So like we said, you have 4 more years. You are heading to Marshall here in the summer. Walk me through your recruiting process, from kind of like when schools first started reaching out to you to that moment that you made the decision of where you wanted to spend the next 4 years. Because I went through this 26 years ago. My process was different. I wasn't in this NIL transfer portal space. So tell me about kind of how your process went.
So I did get my first Division 1 offer freshman year. So like obviously that just made me want to keep going, get more, get more. So I would say my process went well. To get recruited, I was on a good circuit. I would say start with that. I played on the EYBL Nike circuit not this whole summer, but like pretty much my whole high school year. And I mean, every single game, there's at least 50 to 70 coaches with eyes on you. You're going against 5 stars, like #1 recruits in the nation. So it's like you got every opportunity that you need in the stands right now. Now I just got to let my game do the talking. So every AAU game that I laced up, I just knew like you got to give it your all, and you got points to prove. Like you think you're underrated, go prove why you think you should have these offers that they have. So I would just say like every game going back and forth with those teams just helped my recruiting process like pick up a lot. And then after that, I would just say like, yeah, it wasn't the same how you had it back in the day. I mean, not saying you're old or anything,
Yeah,
but it
back in the
definitely
day.
no, I didn't mean to say it like that. It's definitely changed a lot. So it's like scheduled phone calls. It definitely takes like a lot of maturity, like setting alarms, making sure you're not sleeping through them, making sure you're scheduling them not on top of each other. And then after that, this year with the visits picking up, I mean, now you have unlimited officials. So I definitely took advantage of that, hopped on a lot of planes this summer, and just made sure I saw every opportunity I had before committing.
I committed early as a junior, and I actually never went on any visits. So just kind of hearing, your process and everything, because AAU now is different. It's way different than it was back then. Back then we played in three tournaments a year. We played in one in Vegas, one in California, and then there would be a state tournament in kind of that little triad area that you're in. So our state tournament would consist of Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. We had two AAU teams in the whole state of Kentucky,
Wow.
so it's totally different. So when you say that at your games on the because we didn't have the circuits, right? So every coach in America would show up to big time out in Vegas and best of the summer out in LA. But you're saying now, so you go to these EYBL tournaments on the circuits, and every game you're playing in front of 50 coaches. So now I know there's different age groups. So it's like, is there certain age groups that these coaches are at, or are they at all of them, or what at what age group do coaches really start recruiting kids nowadays?
I would say, I mean, I feel like it starts earlier and earlier every year. So there's like 17U, 16U, and then 15U is normally like in the same gym. And then there'll be like 13U and 14U. But I mean, I'll obviously, like, just to being a basketball junkie, I'll play my game and then I'll be like, let's walk over and go watch our 13U team play. And they still have 20 coaches in the stands watching. So honestly, at this age, it starts early as they can dribble a ball, to be honest.
Gotcha. Yeah. All righty. So now again, like I said, you had as a former Butler grad, I do remember that your dad was telling me at one point in time, my alma mater was looking at you, and I am kind of feeling the way that you didn't go there, but I'm happy for all the success that you're going to have at Marshall. But so you had a number of opportunities to go to the next level, without naming any school or any coach. Was there a lesson or a piece of advice from a coach during your recruiting process that kind of helped you decide whether a program was the right fit or not the right fit for you?
Yeah, I would say the biggest advice that like stood out to me was pick somewhere that'll like feel like a family. So when I first started looking for what school to choose, I was looking at the basketball team, where would I fit in on the court, but they were like, you're gonna spend your next 4 years here. You're gonna leave your current family behind, and this is gonna be your new family for 4 years. So taking that advice kind of like helped me. Then I started looking at the culture, the community, and like where I'll just fit in best and like love my life and love my new family that I will be going into, stepping into.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Like I said, you're going, you're like me. You're going 2.5 hours away from home, so you're not going home all the time. So these people that you're going to be around, you love them or hate them, that's who you're going to be around. That is your new family. So like I say, you've played this game, you've been able to have successful career, and you've reached one of your goals of going to the Division I school and receiving a scholarship. What did you do to kind of help create exposure for yourself and put yourself on the radar for these college programs that some of these young kids should look at trying to help themselves out?
I would say, like I said, play on a good circuit. Whether that's like EYBL, Under Armour, Adidas, just anywhere where you can get eyes on you. And then social media is obviously huge now. I was never a huge social media person. I never like went straight to Instagram or anything. My dad wasn't a huge social media person. He doesn't even have social media. So I know a lot of parents like push for their kids on social media. So I would say that, or just get in front of the right eyes and just prove yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah. Very, very good advice. Again, the next generation has a lot of good mentors to look up to. So, kind of as we go through this, I want to kind of just do a short reflection period. So, kind of we'll hit what I like to call rapid fire sections, just kind of like the beyond the game quick hits. So we're going to go through this. I'm gonna give you two options. You'll pick one. No longer the explanation is needed. Just don't overthink it. The only rule I have is you can't say both. Okay, so just first instinct, go with your gut. Think about it. Now, if you decide after you give your answer that you want to explain, hey, you're more than welcome to do that. But just understand that the world we live in, somebody's going to disagree with you. But again, we're here for entertainment, so that's what I'm here for. All right. So take a deep breath. We're gonna hop in here. All right. All
Perfect.
right. So now, either or. You tell me which one you would like. All right. Tough coach or a player's coach?
Tough coach.
All right. Underdog mentality or be the favorite to win? Because I think you've been
Underdog.
in both situations.
Yeah, underdog.
All right. Do you prefer to train alone or would you rather train with teammates?
Teammate, so they can push me.
So thinking about that, like what's on your warm up playlist?
Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill.
I gotta get you some of this '90s hip hop in there. You gotta learn more about that. So as a player, do you learn more from a win or more from a loss?
A loss definitely teaches more lessons.
Okay. Who's your favorite player? Give me your three favorite players.
WNBA Asia Wilson, NBA all time Kobe Bryant, NBA currently Giannis.
All right. So now you think about your college prep. You're about to head off into college. What are you most excited for?
Um, I would say a fresh start. I have time to change my game into different things that I've always wanted to like fix in my game. So I would just say that.
Okay. What are you most nervous about?
Most nervous about, I would say meeting the team. I'm not always like the most outgoing person, but I know I'm easy to get along with. So I wouldn't say I'm too nervous about many things.
What do you have questions about as you get ready to go off on this experience by yourself?
I would say my questions are like on basketball related, like how do I cook things, how do I things like that nature. Like I need to get ready to grow up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that is a part of it. What is your career high and when? What
39.
age? What year?
Eighth grade varsity game.
What was it?
39.
Wow. Was your career low and when was it?
Career low, maybe 6 points, and I had that this year.
Okay. Did you win?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what matters. All righty. No pressure. You have you ever beat your dad?
No, he once he got to the age where he couldn't beat me, he stopped playing me, so he knows better now.
All right. So if you played your dad right now, what would the final score be?
11-8, me.
11-8 you. All right.
Can't
All
let him
right.
get the ball.
So we're gonna play a game. It's called pump fake, shot, and pass. So pump fake, think of something that you wanna, just kind of hold on to, right? Shot, something you want to go ahead, put in the bucket and celebrate and keep with you. And pass, something you want to get rid of. All right. So now, pump fake, shot, or pass. Asia Wilson, Kobe, or Giannis?
Um, Pass Giannis, shoot Asia, pump fake Kobe.
All right. Same concept. Pass fake, pump fake, shot, pass. Unrivaled, the WNBA, or women's college basketball.
I'm gonna pass the WNBA, shoot unrivaled, and pump fake college basketball.
All right. What school, as you get ready to head into college, what is the one school that you want to play against?
Um, I would say Indiana, one of the bigger schools that we get to play and just ready for that competition. Somebody that I go like head to head with now is going to Indiana, and then a big time player that we played last year already attends there. So just ready to see competition that I've seen here.
Okay. So if you think about new competition, what's the one school that you'd want to play? Dream college matchup.
Dream college matchup. Maybe I mean we won't play them, but Louisville, just because like it's always been a school that I've looked up to since I was probably about 3 years old. Just grew up a Louisville fan, so I would love to play against Jeff Walls and his players.
Okay. Awesome. All righty. So again, next, I just wanted to give you some quick hitter questions. So, we're gonna try to get ready to wrap up the episode. So again, first thing I got to do whenever I do episodes, I have to always thank my sponsors because without my sponsors, this doesn't happen. So today's episode is proudly sponsored by the Eric W. Jenkins Memorial Foundation. The Eric W. Jenkins Memorial Foundation was created with a powerful mission to help fund cancer research and support the ongoing fight to find a cure. Through community support, fundraising efforts, and partnerships with organizations dedicated to medical advancements, the foundation works to bring hope to individuals and families impacted by cancer. Cancer has touched the lives of so many people, and organizations like the Eric W. Jenkins Memorial Foundation are committed to turning loss into purpose by helping move research forward and supporting scientists and programs working every day toward life-saving breakthroughs. Their mission is simple but meaningful: to honor Eric's legacy by making a lasting impact in the fight against cancer and help create a future where fewer families have to experience its effects. If you'd like to learn more about the Eric W. Jenkins Memorial Foundation, support their efforts, or find out how you can get involved, we encourage you connect to the organization and be a part of the movement to advance cancer research. The Eric W. Jenkins Memorial Foundation, honoring a legacy while helping fund a fight for the cure. All righty. So again, as we wrap up the episode, I just want to take a moment to thank my sponsor today, the Eric W. Jenkins Memorial Foundation, but also thank you, Bri, for coming on here. I know, you have a lot going on, but I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and just kind of bring in some of, your story, and just appreciate you with all the openness and the perspective that you brought in here. I think a lot of people are going to learn from your story and be able to take something from it. That's kind of what this whole platform is about. We believe that everybody has a story that somebody should hear. So my goal is to be able to be the bridge that connects those two together. So before we close out things, I always like to give, my people that come on here, they're taking the time, give them an opportunity to shout out to the audience, just anything you have that's going on, that you want to let the people know where they can find you at, if it's upcoming games or projects you're working on, social media, or just anything else that that you want people to know about you. So I'll give you some time. The floor is yours.
You can follow me on all platforms, Bri Wilk 23. I would just shout out all my supporters, everybody that continues to believe in me. And then I would just say, follow me next year, go Herd, and let's go Marshall.
All righty. We are. You don't know that one yet?
We are the Thundering Herd?
No, it's supposed to be, it's We Are Marshall.
Oh,
That,
my
that
bad.
is that is the most, you need to learn that. That is the most
On
famous
the way.
Marshall quote.
I
Okay.
picked up, yeah.
So yeah, no, so absolutely. So I appreciate you coming in here sharing. I wish you nothing but success. I'm always rooting for you. I'll be watching you. I got to figure out what's going on with ESPN Plus because they've upgraded their service, and now I lost a lot of games, but I just kind of want to move everything forward with you. So as I get into this, so to everyone listening and watching, I thank you for taking some time to spend your part of the day with us today and listening to this story. We here at Beyond the Game More Stories are here to kind of help link these stories with you all. So if you enjoyed today's stories and you made it this far with us, please give us a like or subscribe. We're on everywhere that you're at. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Instagram, we're on Amazon, we're on Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere that they deliver content. So we ask that you continue to help us grow. That's how we're going to grow this podcast and this platform. So kind of as you go through this, if you heard something on here that you think somebody who needs to hear this story that could be beneficial for them or help them, or if you know somebody who just likes sports or storytelling, we ask that you share this with them as well. We're trying to do something to connect a lot of people together with letting everybody understand the different lessons that sports teach us and how we're able to learn from them as we go through the rest of our life. So we ask you continue to support this platform. You can also visit our website. It's www.btgms.com for more content. Our social media as well, Beyond the Game _more_stories. We're doing a lot we're promoting our youth athletes and everything like that. We featured Bri here. So we appreciate all of your support. Again, on our website, you can also find some of our Beyond the Game More Stories merchandise. But for today, I'm your host, Dwayne Lightfoot Jr. And remember, the game may end, but the lessons last a lifetime. So we'll see you next time, Beyond the Game.